Welcome to Signal Soundbytes. I'm Brandon Peña, editor-in-chief of The Signal, and today we are doing a special one-year anniversary look back at Harvey. So joining me today on this podcast are the co-managing editors of Fall 2018 semester. Why don't you introduce yourself, guys?
Hello, everyone. I think you all know me as Troylon Griffin II, and yes, you heard it, co-managing editor and all. Looking forward to talking on this wonderful podcast with this wonderful group of two people.
What's up, everyone? My name is Justin Murphy. I'm the other co-managing editor for The Signal. I'm looking forward to see what we can get through today.
All right, so just a quick rundown of the timeline of Harvey. On August 13, 2017, Harvey began as a tropical wave in the west coast of Africa. August 17, 2017, it was upgraded to a tropical storm. Then on August 18th, the tropical storm Harvey hit the Windward Islands and entered the eastern Caribbean Ocean as a minimal tropical storm. August 19th, tropical storm Harvey dissipated into a tropical wave, but on August 23rd, Harvey reformed as a tropical depression, and the governor of Texas issued a state disaster declaration for 30 counties. On August 24th, 2017, tropical storm Harvey strengthened into a hurricane, and on August 25th, Hurricane Harvey, as a Category 3, entered and quickly gained strength to become a Category 4, and it made landfall on the San Jose Island between Port Aransas and Port O'Connor as a Category 4 hurricane. Harvey made a second landfall at the Holiday Beach as a Category 3 storm. The president issued a major disaster declaration for the state of Texas. On August 26, 2017, Harvey weakened into a tropical storm, and at the time, the governor added 20 more counties to the state of declaration. And on August 27, 2017, Harvey dropped up to 60 inches of rain in parts of southeast Texas, including Fort Bend, Brazoria, and Harris counties. August 29th, Tropical Storm Harvey moved back into the Gulf of Mexico and making a final landfall on August 30th, 2017 in Cameron, Louisiana. So how did Harvey impact you guys in your communities? And actually, this is interesting because a year ago when we did the first kind of look back when we did the podcast, you guys weren't on the team at that time or kind of new to the team. So tell us about your experience and how it impacted you in your communities.
Sure thing. So for me, it was very interesting because, I think one thing that I'm surprised you didn't point out also is that besides the fact that I wasn't with the Signal, I also, was going to college. I was, a freshman and everything. So that summer, August and stuff, for me, it was like, wow, only a few more weeks until college starts for me and everything. I recently graduated and all that. I was going to be a college freshman. So when I found out that a hurricane was going to be coming, I had a friend who wasn't used to hurricanes and stuff and was all worried and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to worry about. It's probably not even going to happen and stuff like that. I guess I was just being very positive. And as it turned out, she actually had legit concerns. And it turned out it would have been probably good if maybe some of us had evacuated and stuff like that. So, I immediately got the email that, what was going to be the first day of my college career had been postponed for a few days or weeks, I think. I was like, wow, looks like I don't have to start college now after all, at least not yet. So when it hit, I experienced the rain and all that stuff, and I was like, wow, this was pretty intense and stuff.
Did you get a lot of flooding in your area?
There was a lot of flooding. Thankfully, my house was left pretty unharmed. The only thing that really happened was by one of my windows and stuff. Somehow water kind of got through, but it really felt like, I don't know if, somebody had just finished washing their hands and they just flayed their hands a little in just a little water. Not even that, even less than that. It took me a moment to notice it. When the water first got on me, it was nighttime and I was watching TV and I wasn't really sad or anything, but I just thought, oh, maybe I'm crying. Maybe my eyes are just leaking or something. But then I felt more on my arms and I was like, wait a minute, this is legit rain and stuff. And when we tried looking for the spot, we couldn't find it because it was that small. Like, it was nothing significant at all and stuff like that. So, yeah, college for me was postponed. High school for my brothers was postponed. Obviously, people in my house, their jobs, they didn't have to go into work and stuff like that.
How about for you, Justin?
For me, Harvey kind of jumped on us the last second, it felt like. I went to the Astros game that Friday. I think it was a Friday. It was either Thursday or Friday, like right when we knew it was going to hit. So I'm pretty sure it was a Friday. And going back, it was really eerie and all that kind of stuff. But then our house in Summerwood didn't get like flood damage, but we had a crack in our kitchen, and so we had to replace our whole roof in our kitchen, which is a lot better than it could have been for other people. But I think the scariest part was not knowing if like my friends and my family were okay, and like just communicating with them through text. In my grandma's house, she lives right on Lake Houston. Her house became Lake Houston. She got 10 inches in her house, and her and her neighbors had to flee upstairs. There were only three houses on that street that got water damage from Harvey, and hers was one of them. And so then after that, having to go through and fix everything and get everything out and tear off sheetrock and carpet. I think the biggest thing for me that I'll never forget is like the smell of that water, just ruining the carpet and the mats that are under the carpet. Like that smell is so bad, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. And I've got this scar on my arm now from when we were moving stuff out of our house. So I always blame Harvey for it. Like, what happened? Like, Harvey, man. Harvey happened. So I think it's definitely a lasting experience. And it's funny because like we had all these like tropical storms beforehand. I'm using air quotes on tropical storms because it was like the memes would come out where like it's like a lawn chair knocked over and it's like tropical storm did this to us because it didn't really harm us. And so I think people didn't take it seriously when it was like, oh, a hurricane's coming. They were like, nah, we'll be fine. And then I remember watching like the Weather Channel, like the guy that was like in Port Aransas, and he was like, no, this is like a for real hurricane, and like it became a category 4 like right before it hit land, and it was like, oh crap. So it was definitely a scary moment or a scary time to like not know what was happening and to not know what to expect, because I was only like 9 or 10 years old when Hurricane Ike hit, so you didn't really remember exactly what it was like.
And I think it's the 10-year anniversary coming up for Hurricane Ike as well. But also at the time you were SGA president, so how did you guys like incorporate, like when you got back into campus, we reopened, like the Hawks Helping Hawks thing, like what kind of drove that sort of initiative? Yeah,
the Dean of Students Office was really helpful in Hawks Helping Hawks. Really every office on campus was like, we need to do something because a lot of the areas around UHCL the neighborhoods were just completely shot. And so Hawks Helping Hawks, for those who don't know, was I don't want to say a campaign, but it was like a campaign-ish to just collect food and like necessary supplies and school supplies and cleaning supplies and all that kind of stuff. And we did a food drive in SGA. We usually only do it in the spring, but we did it full year so we could give it to Harvey victims, and that helped open the food pantry too. And so, yeah, that's kind of how that got started. We all got back, and as soon as we got back, our advisor Andrew was like, "Hey, this is what's going on. This is what I've heard," and we talked with the Dean of Students Office and kind of figured out how we can help.
So one of the things, speaking of Ike, that happened 10 years ago, there was the proposal of creating an Ike Dike, and this is still continuing today, this sort of push for it. And actually earlier this summer, Troylon had the opportunity to write an article kind of giving an update on this. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it and what the progress is now?
Yeah, so basically the Ike Dike was something that was initially proposed, by a professor at Texas A&M Galveston by the name of Bill Merrill. And, the proposition was that it basically be this coastal barrier. And for the record, these days it's generally called the coastal barrier rather than the Ike Dike because, it's something that's meant to prepare for future further hurricanes and stuff. But anyway, it was going to be this coastal barrier that we built, along the coast of Texas and everything, so that, if a hurricane or something similar to a hurricane was to strike, the damage to the oil industry and ship channels and all those things, including, Texas itself, wouldn't be as extreme. And basically, one thing that's been emphasized by the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership, who are the main advocates for it, is that Houston is a big exporter of like so many goods and stuff, to the point where, they even said, although the damage with Harvey was bad, if it had, impacted Houston and the ship channels as bad as it could have, things would have been very bad. Like, because Houston and those ship channels are so vital to the economy, literally, if things were as bad as they could have been, the whole country could be in a state of economic despair and crisis. Like, we're talking like, gas prices being the highest they ever were since like the 70s, maybe being like $7 or even $8-9 a gallon and stuff like that. So, one thing that they've been trying to do is emphasize the building of this barrier and everything. And so far they said the main issue is just getting, the federal executives and federal government to realize the importance of it. One thing they've been trying to do is, reach out to the president, which they've done. There was a whole letter written to the president telling it, but the president hasn't said anything. They've gotten a hold of senators and stuff like that who have been trying to push through for it, but their main thing is they believe this is a federal national issue, because this is something that could put the whole country at stake if a hurricane damaged Houston bad enough. So they believe the federal government should be the one funding and building this thing. So that has in many ways been the biggest delay in getting it built.
Well, wasn't there like something that, like for Hurricane Katrina, the federal government gave like 15-something billion to Louisiana or to New Orleans, and then this would only cost like, what was it, $6 billion or something like that?
Oh yeah.
To Houston, and they wouldn't pay.
They gave like $15 billion to New Orleans, which the president of the Houston Economic Partnership emphasized. New Orleans is not even, a major export and stuff like that, but they gave $15 billion to New Orleans, and to make this barrier just so we could protect Houston would be only $5.8 billion. And the government won't even give $5.8 billion to Houston, yet they gave $15.5 billion to New Orleans because of Katrina and all.
All right, and then moving on, we have here, as Justin mentioned earlier, after Hurricane Harvey hit, there was a bunch of groups on campus, offices and organizations that came together and collaborated for the Hawks Helping Hawks program that sought out donations and volunteer relief efforts. And then after the initial response, the Dean of Students office continues to maintain a food pantry that is available in their office. It is open to any and every community member and student who wishes to utilize it. Dean Rakita said in a quote, "The pantry is located in the Dean of Students office, is out of the way and private. Anyone wanting to use the pantry would simply come to our office, either asking to use the pantry or ask to see a staff person to ask for access to the pantry. It is very easy and no questions asked. The only thing they do ask you to do is to fill out a anonymous survey that basically helps them figure out what products are being utilized, what they might need to get. So if anybody's interested in doing donations, all you would have to do is take it to the Dean of Students office that is located in the Student Services Classroom Building, room 201 on the first floor. They are looking for anything such as non-perishable food items, men and female specific hygiene products, school supplies, and things of that nature. They don't collect or distribute clothing, so keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, donate.
Yes, definitely donate. Keep it stocked. There really is all dependent on donations. It's not dependent on any sort of funding. It is strictly through donations, so definitely donate to them. And moving on, so we're going to talk about tips for preparing for a hurricane. And Justin, you actually did a infographic earlier this summer about what somebody might want in their hurricane go bag.
Yeah.
So why don't you kind of explain to us what are some things that we should have in our possession?
Well, this first item is important for you to have, even if a hurricane doesn't hit, but just have like paper copies of maps, because your GPS isn't always going to work, especially if cell towers are down. And I know I'm very dependent on my cell phone GPS. So just having that paper copy is good to have. Flashlights, you always need a flashlight in case your phone dies and you can't use the flashlight on your phone. Make sure you have 3 to 4 days worth of non-perishable food, so stuff that doesn't have to be refrigerated, and water. Make sure you have plenty of water. I would say even a week's worth of water, because you need that more than you need food. And if you're evacuating, make sure you take your passports, birth certificates, social security cards, anything else you need that you don't want to get ruined. Make sure you have a first aid kit, just in case you're stuck on the road, like what happened with Rita, and something happens. Just make sure you have like basic band-aids, cleaning stuff, and medications like allergy medication. If you have like heart medicine you have to take, make sure you have all that. And then batteries. It's just good to have batteries, especially if your flashlight dies. And if you need any other resources, there are plenty of websites that you can visit. Weather.gov, ready.gov is a good one for not just for hurricanes, but for any kind of preparation stuff. So yeah, and you can check out the graphic online too. UHCL.com.
Do you guys have your stuff prepared? Do you have like a little bag or section that you have like your stuff?
So at my house, my dad, every time that we empty or for a while, every time we would empty like a milk jug, he would just fill it up with water and put it in our fridge outside, so that way we would have water always available outside. So we probably have I want to say 25 or 30 gallons of water just readily available if we need it.
I wouldn't say my household is as prepared as we could be, but I'd say that we are prepared enough.
Well, that's good.
What about you?
I think we're pretty prepared. We have a whole section underneath our kitchen cabinets that has batteries and things of that nature that we might need on the ready. If there's anything that Hurricane Harvey is sort of kind of brought to the forefront is how we need to be prepared even if we are stuck at home, because back whenever Ike hit and Rita hit, we did evacuate, and so there wasn't really that sort of you had to have all these things. But now that it's here and you're seeing and you saw how it impacted so many lives of people who weren't ready, I think that hopefully this infographic and then also any other resources that you can find online, by having an area, a go bag that is ready for you to go, because you'll never really know. Water rises so quickly. There was a time when it actually hit, in a matter of 2 to 3 hours, it was literally a lake in the street behind us. So you never know when you might have to evacuate. You never know how soon and quickly you got to work to get that. So definitely be prepared, especially with your documents. Those things, I would definitely recommend getting them laminated and having them ready to go in a folder.
I think we're getting them laminated.
Yeah, get them laminated. Get them, in an area, a folder that's pretty high up. In the event it floods and it's not on your first thought of your mind, you want to make sure it's going to be out of the way and not ruined.
Yeah.
So definitely do that, especially.
Goes to apply for a job. Where's your social security card? Harvey.
Yeah, and also when you're packing for your food, your non-perishables, if you have pets, definitely pack some extra food for them, because I think a lot of times that kind of gets forgotten. So definitely pack some extra food for that. And before we move on to our last thing, we wanted to give you guys some resources. I want to talk about this new thing that's actually going to be coming up very soon. Street Corner Films, which is a local production company, is producing a fiction-based movie on the events of Hurricane Harvey. It is set to potentially be released on the anniversary of the storm. And Troylon, you kind of did an update on this earlier this summer, so tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, well, actually, one updating factor with the movie is that at this point it would seem the trailer's actually going to be released on the anniversary of Harvey, and the movie is currently in post-production. They're still putting it together, editing it and everything. but it should, come out shortly after the anniversary of Harvey, definitely probably in September and everything. There's no exact word on where and when it will, premiere and all, but the film is produced and made by Street Corner Films, which is kind of run and overseen by the producer, casting director, and story editor of the film, whose name is Nakim Dinchukwu. I hope I'm saying that right. But she basically served as the producer, casting director, and story editor of the film and everything. And basically, if I'm correct, the film has two actors in it who actually play themselves and are actual Harvey survivors and all. And part of the film is based on, their experiences with Harvey. So it is definitely kind of like fiction with a lot of non-fictional biographical elements to it. So from what I've seen, they're almost done with it, and hopefully we'll all be able to see it soon. It definitely is going to premiere in Houston, and it's something that's been made for the Houston community.
Nice. And then I was slated to, shoot within 21 days and had an estimated budget of $20,000 to produce the film and to make it. So it'll definitely be something to look out for, and definitely be interesting to see how it's done, how it's portrayed, especially a year later.
Yeah, definitely.
But lastly, guys, we're going to give you some quick resources, some quick phone numbers. You can find a full list on our website. But here are some emergency contacts that you might need for in the event of emergency. Of course, 911 is for emergency onlys. Firefighters is 311. United Way Helpline is 211. And the UHCL number is 281-283-7600. UHCL Police is 281-283-2222. If you're on campus, you can use the extension 2222. Also, UHCL has a priority fund, which you can access through uhcl.edu/herewego/priorities/emerging opportunities. It is based out of the University Office of University Advancement. And actually, Justin, you could tell us a little bit more about this because you did an update article on is this the Hawk Emergency Fund, the priority fund?
Is it the same thing?
I think it might be.
It probably is.
University of Advancement.
The Hawk Emergency Fund.
Yeah.
It kind of is housed in the Dean of Students office as well. But University of Advancement obviously has a lot to do with it because now the sole income from that money is donations, or they call them gifts. So the Hawk Emergency Fund basically, or Hawk Emergency Grant is what they call it now, is basically for students. It started as a Harvey emergency grant, which allowed people who were affected by Hurricane Harvey, they could get money out from that grant to pay for like school supplies or like books and all that kinds of stuff. It wouldn't pay for like tuition and that kind of stuff because it's just the way that Dean Keita described it is as a way to pay for the small things that would prevent people from from staying enrolled. And so after Harvey, they immediately changed it to the Hawk Emergency Grant. So now, Dean Keita gave an example of like if someone's apartment burns down, like a student's apartment burns down, and they need help buying books or something like that, they can get out $250 to help pay for that and all that kinds of stuff as well. For anyone who's interested in giving gifts to that fund directly, because once that money's gone, it's gone. Like the grant's gone until there's more money that's put into it. So just contact the University of Advancement, uhcl.edu/giving.
Nice. And lastly, this is the number for the Dean of Students if you want to contact them about the food pantry, 281-283-2567. If you guys go to our website, uhclsignal.com, you can find this list of resources that has all kinds of numbers from the American Red Cross, Flood Control, Centerpoint Energy, Houston SPCA, shelters, emergency numbers, county-specific numbers such as Galveston County, Fort Bend, Brazoria, Harris, and the United States Coast Guard, and a bunch of other resources. So definitely go check that list out. Have it on the ready. You never know when you might need it. Any concluding thoughts you guys have?
Well, I think that, when it comes to natural disasters, we should always just be, do our best to do what we can and just help others because, a lot of people were affected by this and, sometimes like I know that we all sometimes like make a bit of joking matters when it comes to like these natural disasters, but I think one thing that keeps me from being a bit more cautious about how I joke about it is the fact that I went to Clear Creek High School, and us and the surrounding area were kind of affected by it because one of the coaches there whose driving school I went to was killed by the hurricane and stuff. So, that definitely was like a big shock to all of us. It really affected the community and stuff like that. So I think, we should always do our best to help because, according to the sources, he was killed helping people, with the hurricane and stuff like that. So I think we should always try to reach out, help the community and stuff whenever these things happen. I'm glad I was able to help people. So
going off of that, like with Hawks Helping Hawks last year, like I think if hopefully a situation like this doesn't ever happen again, but if it does, I feel like UHCL, the community around us I think we'd see even more than what we saw, like even more help than what we saw, because I think Harvey happened so quick that people were like, oh my gosh, like how can I help? And now that we've had that experience, like we would know how to help now. And I think that's something that's really good. And another thing, like our neighbors, they're from Ohio, originally Cincinnati, and during Harvey, four of their friends from up in Ohio literally just drove down to Houston with their jet skis and went and started rescuing people. I think it's in a day and age when people are looking to find a reason to hate one another, it's great to see people coming down to love on one another.
Yeah, like I gotta say, like Harvey really kind of brought the city of Houston really together and stuff like that. I mean, Houston is the most I think it is the most diverse city in America now, and
it also gave the Astros a reason to win the World Series.
That too.
Houston strong, baby.
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. Yeah, I think that's like, if there's any silver lining that came out of the storm, it was definitely seeing people come together. It didn't matter, what your beliefs are, anything, your race, your gender, anything like that. It was about helping people, and I think that's like the most important takeaway from this that I hope continues beyond this year and beyond any natural disaster, is helping one another and not just focusing on, the things you differ on, because at the end of the day, it's about helping people. So, all right, guys, thank you for listening. For more reporting, head to UHCLthesignal.com, and to contact us if you have you want to submit anything such as your Harvey experience, whether it's photos, videos, artwork, poetry, anything and everything to describe your experience. You can send it to thesignal@uhcl.edu.